So here we are at the end of April 1915 in La Grande Guerre. Some interesting things have happened. Let's start out with what happened in the Balkans. The English were able to convince the Greeks to join the war, and that caused a cascading set of events in which both Turkey and Bulgaria declared war on the Entente. Italy's been driven close to the brink of war, but isn't quite there. Romania has been pushed a little further into the Entente camp. In terms of actual military actions, the fortress of Epinal fell. The Swiss got themselves butchered attacking the Germans, but there's a reason for that, which is the minor countries have a limit to how many replacement points they can have, and they were at the limit, so they continued attacking just in order to cause maybe some damage to the Germans, and they caused maybe a point of damage. Over in the East Front, we have the Russians were similarly beaten back at Königsberg. That was probably a more questionable attack. The Russians don't pay anything in terms of national will in order to make a single attack each turn. So it seemed like a good idea, but they ended up getting the First Army destroyed, which actually should hurt their national will. I don't think I've recorded that yet. I'll catch that in a moment. Over in the Balkans, we're seeing the Greeks and English trying to push up against the Bulgarian border to prevent the inevitable. To me, it looks like the Serbs are going to have to pull back. They're not going to be able to hold that line. It's stretched pretty thin. The Austrians considered attacking it again this turn, but the effects of the last attack were so bad that they didn't want to go forward. Over on Turkey, the addition of the Turks to the war, they're moving forward to cope with the Russians on the Armenian front. Push some troops forward into the Mesopotamian region and some towards Egypt. In all, those Turkish troops are so crappy that Turkey generally at best holds its own. However, they totally outnumber the Greeks at this point in Europe, so it's gonna be interesting what happens in the Balkans come good weather. Right now it's rainy everywhere except right in the Mediterranean area itself, and of course in the deserts where it isn't. In the rest of the world, we're seeing some actions in Africa. The French have taken Togo. The Germans are fighting a guerrilla war there. So far it's been pretty effective. They killed off some French. The Germans are still attacking British Africa, and there's some Brits still in Nigeria to try to defend that area. The Germans also launched an attack on South Africa, which was beaten back pretty heavily. Over on national will, most of them are doing pretty well. The Russian one has to drop down, and we'll see that might cause some tests. But the French national will has driven up into the high zones. The loss of Epinal caused a national resurgence, and I'm trying to think what else. Addition of minor countries boosted everybody's will a little bit. So I'll take care of a couple of things I forgot to do at the end of the turn. So far, the German fleet hasn't sorted out. It had an option to do so, but because the British had taken control of the North Sea earlier last turn, they didn't want to go forward into it. The Germans are holding the surprise chit, which is a very powerful chit for naval battles. I really like it, and it could well do them a lot of good. Overall, I still say the Central Powers are screwed, but we'll see.